Hello, and Kings of War week is upon us. This week, we're looking at all the different myriad of armies that are in Kings of War and exploring how the game plays. But one of the coolest things is all the stuff we're giving away. We have a massive grand prize of two 2,000 point armies, one undead and one you get to choose yourself. If you want to be in with a chance of winning, comment on this video here on YouTube or over on beastsofwar.com. If you do both, that gets you 2 entries. If you write a blog post and send the link to us at community@beastsofwar.com, that gets you another 10 entries. We're also giving away spot prizes of individual army deals, and the way we're going to work that is if you create a forum post or you participate in a forum post somewhere out on the interweb and we find out about it, we're going to be picking people at random and you're going to win an army. So, enjoy Kings of War week, because we most certainly will. Hey guys, and thanks for joining myself and James in this one.
Hello.
We're going to have a look at elves. Now, if you're interested in the elves, you'll find the elves in the original main rulebook, and you'll find the army list for those guys on page 88. So if you're wanting to follow along, I strongly suggest you go out and grab that and follow along. So James, elves then. Now we know from the original video where we talked about Mantica that an elf was responsible for the shit hitting the fan.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that a bleep there? Or?
I hope they feel guilty about that.
They totally do, yeah. It's not just that, in fact. So the elves, an elf was responsible for the god war, basically, and everything going horribly wrong there. Also, Morgoth, the necromancer, who's like the evilest guy currently walking around, was kind of the fault of the elves as well.
Really?
Yeah, they took pity on him when he was a child.
So
and
before that, Morgoth is like the leader of the undead army. So Morgoth is a necromancer. So you're telling me that he was as a child that they've kind of adopted, or? It's
kind of a long, involved story, but basically the elves took pity on him and gave him a shortcut to power, and they taught him magic and sorcery. But of course, being a human, you know, a little bit fallible here and there, he kind of got the whole corrupted by power thing going on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Power corrupts, absolutely. There we go. It's too hot. But yeah, so he got kind of given power by the elves. And so, yeah, the elves, their big driving factor really is, we've kind of screwed this whole world up.
So they are in the alignment. They are good.
Yes.
Are they trying to repair the damage, or what motivates?
They'd love
the
to
elves?
be, but the problem is their kind of time of glory is gone. They're at a point now where they had like a huge kingdom. They've got Elvenholm, which is this whole continent almost. But
which was called what?
Elvenholm.
Elvenholm.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
But the cities and the settlements have kind of shrunk back and back and back, almost like a lake drying out, as the elves have gone through various calamities over the years. And more to the point, various kindreds of elves have just kind of given up the ghost because they've realised that so much of the world going wrong is their fault. Yeah. They don't really deserve to be around anymore, so they kind of wasted away and let themselves die, which is actually quite tragic for a war game, really. It's quite sad, you know. But the ones that are left kind of spend most of their time trying to just hold back the evil. They know that they can't stop the dam breaking, but they can put fingers in holes as long as they can do. Yeah. So
so it feels a bit like Last Stand for them.
For them, very much so. I mean, they look at the humans, for example, and I mean the humans and the elves had like a big alliance early on. Yeah. And they know that if they could get the human nations to work together, they'd have a great weapon against evil. But they're not in a position to ask that of them. They've screwed it so badly. Yeah. That the humans wouldn't trust them, probably, And then you got the dwarves. The dwarves were great allies of the elves long ago, but since that all happened, they blame the elves for all of it, quite rightly. Yeah. And have kind of locked their doors. So the elves are kind of standing alone against this evil, that they created.
Now, from a hobbyist's point of view, it talks about the kins of elves. That basically means that there's, for want of a better word, factions of elves.
Yeah, exactly.
So if I wanted to create an elf army, I could come up with something myself if I wanted. So something that's shaped to my own.
Yeah. So what you have different sort of kindreds. So you got the northern kindreds tend to be quite boaty.
Well, even on page 89, I see the sea kin, the northern kin, the dragon kin, the eastern kin, the southern kin, the ice kin, the sylvan kin, the twilight kin.
We'll deal with them
later.
We'll
come back to them later.
But the idea is the elves. There's a whole variety of different types of elf, so you can really theme your force quite heavily. So if you want to go with a straight standard, elves from the city, you can do that.
Or if you wanted something more like the sea kin or something more wood elfy or something like that.
And if you want to change to your dragons rather than being dragons, because elves are big on the dragons. If you want something like kind of aquatic dragon creatures from the sea elves, you could do that.
Flying sharks.
Sharknado type things. That should be a film.
So in terms of the kind of forces that the elves get, they get their spearmen, their guards, scouts, and bowmen. But as you'd said, these guys also get like the dragons.
Yes, they have DRAKON riders, which are like dragons, like smaller dragons. So you have units of cavalry riding like small dragons, which fly over things. And
dragonettes.
Absolutely, dragonettes. Yeah, possibly. Dragoninis.
Yeah, and these guys also have some technologies as well, like the bolt throwers.
Yeah, you got bolt throwers. You got the dragon's breath, which is like a fire-based weapon. You've got various things like that. So that the idea is you've got lots of different things to choose from. So you really can theme your list. If you want to go with like lightly armored scout troops, you can do that. If you want to go with heavily armored things, you can do that. You can go for a mix. So, for example, if you're going for a sea elf army, you go big on your bows, your bolt throwers, that sort of thing. You're going for like the Sylvan kin, you might go more with scouts, maybe ally in some forces of nature. So you've got different things.
Yes, because once again, their alignment is good, which means that they can ally with both good and neutral. Yeah. So there's no reason why you couldn't have a combined elf Basilean army, which would be kind of cool. To be honest,
definitely, because the Basileans have got like the cheap troops, like the Sisterhood and the men at arms. They've got a few elites as well, whereas the elves got the really elite, really hard-hitting but quite fragile troops. So you can use the Basilean force to kind of shield them and then counterattack with the elves.
There's heroes such as kings, mage queens, princes, and other things like tree herders. And what's a
tree herder? Is it's your archetypal living tree that kind of organises other trees. Yeah. And they're like a little hint at the forces of nature army within this one. Yeah. So it's your walking tree basically, which big stompy monster that can uproot and pick people up and squash them, whatever else.
So is there any hot tips for anybody that was going to start an elven army? I take it this is the one to go for if you're into your dragons and things like that.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
This
and with the way the King's War rules work, you can have one monster for every solid unit. So that's a unit of 20 infantry or 10 cavalry. So you could have lots of dragons in an army. So and the thing is, with your DRAKON riders.
Yes.
They're large cavalry. So you just need a unit of 3 of them to count as a solid infantry unit. Or
so,
solid unit.
So for every 3 of them, you could have a big dragon.
Every 3 little dragons, you have a big dragon. That can be your entire army.
Oh, I like that.
So if you want to go with a big monster bashy army, you can do the elves. Yeah. Which is quite cool. Also, they've got some quite good magic users, as you might imagine. Yep. And their bow fire is generally quite good. They've got nice, good ranged combat. Especially when it comes to their bolt throwers. Well, guys, like I said, if you're interested in the elves, you'll find them in the main rule book on page 88. So it's definitely worth checking them out. Stay with us because we're going to be going through all the forces. But if you have any questions about the elves, be sure to post them below. Thanks for watching.